Hello and welcome back to the Expansion Room. I am your host, Shervon Laurice, and this is the space where inner work and um, self-observation meets impact. And today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, boundaries, setting effective and healthy boundaries. So this week is Halloween. And at on Friday, many people across the country will be celebrating Halloween. And I have long accepted the fact that Halloween is the unofficial start to the winter or end of the year holiday season. And and I say that because I also have also nicknamed this time of year the season of eating, because it seems to begin, for me at least, and the folks that I know, with Halloween. And so during this time, people start to gather and reconnect with family, with friends. There are a lot of events and activities that happen in our personal lives, in our family lives, in our work lives as well. And if you're a business owner, that can definitely spill over into your business life. It becomes almost part of the networking that goes on throughout the year. And so today, I think it's a perfect time to revisit how to set and maintain healthy boundaries. Um, we will explore how to do that clearly, compassionately, and in ways that help us to protect our energy, stay emotionally grounded, as well as feel our most authentic in our relationships with other people. And to know that setting boundaries does not equate to shutting people out. So, this is a topic that I've talked about almost every year around this time with either a few clients or a lot of clients, depending on who's in my practice at any given moment. And people find themselves usually starting around November into December, grappling with a couple of things: going back home to family of origin and spending time with family members that maybe they've had discord or maybe some level of trauma or drama with in their lives. Um, and they still value being in space with them, but haven't always known how to best navigate that space. I also find folks who dread the holidays for one or another reason, and folks that find themselves in burnout at some point because of the holiday season, either because they've done too much or they've spent too much and have neglected themselves in the process. So over the years, I have had multiple conversations around setting boundaries. And I talk about boundaries all throughout the year, but this is the time of year in particular it happens. And some of my longer term running clients have said I am the boundary queen. That is what they have dubbed me or named me. I'm the boundary queen because I value setting boundaries around my time and my energy, and around, I guess, my finances as well, and my physical space, my physical body. One of the things that I was doing, at least when I was younger and before I became a therapist, was I was always running around doing social things without taking into account that I'm an introvert for one and need time to recharge my own emotional, mental, and spiritual, as well as physical battery after socializing. And there is going to be an episode in a couple of weeks where we talk about what it means to be an introvert in a very extroverted world. But we'll get there. But I used to run around and feel exhausted or dread social engagements. And even with the advent of social media, Facebook in particular, where people would put an event on to Facebook and then invite you. And in the beginning, I would say yes to things, right? But as the time came near, I would dread the fact that I had said yes to something. And so I learned um, that because I'm an introvert, I needed to be much more aware of how much time, extroverted, quote unquote, time I am allotting for myself, and that I also then need to allot some downtime, some recharge time. I think too, for me, travel can be draining. And so I've always created what I call buffer days around my travel when I drive somewhere. That is more than a couple of hours, and I'm going to spend time there. I usually will create a buffer day once I've returned, and I encourage my clients to do that all the time. Like, why are you coming back Sunday night from a beautiful long vacation or a conference or a training or something else, and then going right into work at 9 a.m. on a Monday, right? So giving ourselves um, some time and space is part of setting boundaries. And so around the holidays, that's something to think about. Boundaries define our limits and our priorities. They are essentially the limits and guideposts that you create or you establish for yourself and for your relationships with other people. So, setting boundaries is crucial for your own mental, emotional, and physical well being. And I would venture to say it is also crucial for your relationship well being, whatever those relationships are. A lot of people resist setting boundaries. They see them as walls or hard stops for the people in their lives. But they aren't walls, they are energetic and emotional fences, as it were, right? And they bring clarity around what is ours and what is not. All right. And so that clarity can be great for you and the other person that you are setting the boundary around. So there are different types of boundaries. There are physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, there are boundaries around time, your energy, as well as financial boundaries. And so we're going to cover all of those, hopefully, get everything in today. So let's start with emotional boundaries because I think that is huge, especially around the holidays. Emotional boundaries define the what, where, and how much you share or want to share your emotional life with someone else. How much of that do you want to give? How much of that do you want to be open with and vulnerable with other people? It's the choice that you make in how you want to handle your own emotional life, as well as how much of someone else's emotional life you want to take on. We all know people in our personal lives that emotionally, mm, it's not a nice way of saying it, but emotionally dump on us without ever asking if we have the capacity in that moment for that conversation, right? There are people that will call you and start a conversation and they just talk, 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 talk. They barely ask how you are or what's going on in your life. They just word vomit. You may or may not get in a word edgewise, and then they hang up because they've gotten what they needed. But then you're left with their emotional vomit, right? And so taking time to know how much capacity you have for emotional exchange with other people, especially folks you don't see that often, but you see them around the holidays, is going to be key. So, protecting your feelings, preventing emotional dumping, and deciding when it's appropriate to share deep personal information about yourself or someone else deciding they're going to share that information is really key. Limiting conversations with people who are consistently invalidating or maybe even overcritical of you is going to also be key. Understanding that you cannot fix nor control other people's emotions, and they cannot fix or control yours. Then there are physical boundaries, right? Physical boundaries have to do with your own personal space, right, around your body and your comfort with touch. I have heard so many comments over the years about people going home to see family members, and there's always this random family member that wants a hug or wants to come up and put their arms around you. And then you feel uncomfortable, right? So you have a right to your own physical space, your own physical boundary around your body. So, establishing respect, privacy, and safety in a physical sense is going to really be key. So, defining your space and setting limits of physical contact. Sometimes handshake versus hug with certain people, or hey, right? How you doing? But never leaning in for the hug. One of my pet peeves has always been little children who don't want to hug Uncle so and so, Aunt so and so, whoever it is, and they're two or three, but the adults push them to hug people that they don't really want to hug. I think that's one of the things that starts to indicate to young kids who then become adults that their own boundaries do not matter, right? That they have to do what someone else wants them to do, especially with their bodies. So we have to really pay attention to what we're modeling and showing our children, and it starts with us. So if there is someone or some group of folks that you just don't want to be physically in contact with, you have a right to not do that. And so that's a physical boundary that you can set for yourself. Really, and if someone tries to call you out on it, you can actually respond and let them know. Or, sometimes people will say, I'm sick. I don't want to spread germs. It's fine, that kind of thing. But really paying attention to your inner energy around sharing your physical space. Stating that you do not want to hug or moving away from someone that's standing too close or asking not to be disturbed even when you're doing something else, or maybe because you're resting, are all within your rights. So, with that, we will move towards a break. And when we come back, we will talk about the other types of boundaries that exist. Come on back.
Are you a conscious co creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Welcome back to the expansion room. And today we are talking about setting and maintaining healthy boundaries for the holiday season. And so we talked about physical boundaries and emotional boundaries in the last segment. And moving into boundaries around time is key because there's going to be a lot of events that will be scheduled, and you have to figure out whether or not you have the time capacity to make it to all the activities that you want, or at least all the activities that you're invited to. And so basically knowing what your time limit is connects with also the next boundary, which is the energetic boundary. What is your energy capacity for socializing, for gathering with other people, or even your capacity to be around certain other people? So, in reference to time, I when I put something on my calendar that is a social thing, I know what time I want to get there and what time I want to leave by, generally speaking, before I even embark to go. And I say that because, particularly for parties, parties are usually open ended or hours and hours long. And being an introvert, I don't relish being in a room full of people and engaging for more than, say, 3 hours at a time. I hit a wall and I suddenly get tired and I start to shut down, right? And so you have to know what your time boundary capacity is for events based on your energetic needs. Now, if you're an extrovert, then you probably are one who might be, well, I'll just go and there's no exit time for me. And that's okay. Know that that's good for you, but maybe somebody you're traveling with, that might not be so great for, right? And so valuing your knowing and valuing your time, it involves you recognizing your priorities, and you'll want to create some open communication around your time boundaries so that other people are not expecting more time from you. The other piece is, and I've worked with many a client around this, is your family of origin may have an expectation that you're coming home, say, for Christmas week. 7, 8 days of hanging out in your family home with your family. But you, now being an adult, may not see that as the best use or desired use of your time. But if you don't say that, then you are moving with false expectation, right? And so you can start to talk to your family about how much time you will have to come home. So instead of 7 or 8 days, maybe you're going home for 3 or 4 days during that holiday, right? Or every holiday. Or the time capacity piece could be about which holidays you go home for. Maybe you don't really want to celebrate Christmas in a way that you used to. And so that's a holiday you'd rather not go home, but you go home for Thanksgiving, right? And so that's the piece around time. The energetics is just maintaining your own level of energy, and how you take care of yourself is going to be key. Energetic boundaries help you to protect and maintain your own emotions and thoughts and energetic capacity. Um, and so it allows you to prevent yourself from being absorbed into someone else's pace and energy. And let's face it, there could be, drama or a discord, right? And so you want to protect your peace. When you are in a room, either with people that you don't know or know well, or people you haven't spent time with, or it's a party, and you suddenly feel like your mood shifts, or you get suddenly tired, that is about energy. So always pay attention and always know what your energetic capacity is. And then finally, financial boundaries. This is the big one. Many people find that they go over and above, or over and beyond how much they wanted to spend during the holiday season, either traveling to get back and forth to see family, or on gifts. And so this is the time right now, end of October, to set a budget. Know how much you want to spend or are able to spend, and really honor that for yourself. Boundaries are as much about you as they are about the other person or persons that you're setting it for. So honor your own boundary when you set a financial budget for your holiday spending, right? So that is really key, because every year in January, people have buyer's remorse or regret based on how much they spent. And you want to give in a way that feels joyful, not regretful, right? So key. So when you think about the holiday pressures, many people think about the overcommitting, family gatherings, gift giving, events, people pleasing that can be draining on many levels. But you want to start asking yourself questions like, where am I saying yes to things that should be a no? Where am I saying yes to things that don't serve my peace and my priorities? Where am I saying yes to things that I just don't want to do? And really examine that. Create for yourself a non-negotiable seasons list of things that you will do and you won't do. Your non-negotiables should be really clear for you, where you're invited to something that you have either no interest in, no desire to do, but the person that invited you makes you go, maybe, right? Or certain activities that really don't speak to you. Know that it is in your right to say no, and that no is a complete sentence, right? If you want to put a period at the end of the no for punctuation, then do so. But no by itself is a complete sentence. It is about self respect, not selfishness, right? So, really sit with that for a moment. For those of us who are people pleasers, that's a hard one to say no. But it is a way for you to start saying yes to your own needs. It is a way for you to respect your own needs. And I would venture to say it is a way for you to respect your relationships in your life, because then you are sharing with other people what it is that you need or you want or you desire. So many high achievers and caretakers, entrepreneurs fall in this category, as well as women in particular, equate boundaries with guilt, that they're putting up walls and or avoiding obligation, right? So let's reframe that, right? Shifting your thoughts and language away from this idea that boundaries are rejection and restriction to boundaries being about preservation and purpose, right? Boundaries aren't stopping other people. They are about protecting your ability to sustain your energy, your gifts, your resources, as well as your connections with other people. So instead of guilt, think about boundaries as an act of integrity. Instead of walls, thinking of boundaries as a container that holds and protects the good things inside. Instead of obligation, think about boundaries allowing you to make conscious choices about how you invest your resources. It is absolutely okay to say no, to decline invitations, to limit the time that you spend with people, to limit your time that you spend with emotionally draining people, and to set spending limits in your life. So practice this statement: I'm not available for that, and thank you for understanding. I'm not available for that, and thank you for understanding. Or it could be, I'm not available for that, but I am available for this. Could this work? Right? I'm not available for that. It doesn't fit in my budget. I'm not available for that, but let's schedule something later, just one on one. Right? These are all ways that you can set a boundary gently and still respect the relationship with the other person. So every time you say no to something that feels misaligned for you, know that you are saying yes to your own well being. So, we're going to take our next break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about clarity and consistency in our communication with other people around boundaries. So, come on back.
Misalignment within your sales team or with a client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the expansion room, where today we are talking about setting boundaries for the holiday season. And so, boundaries help you protect your peace. They also help to protect your relationships. We all have something in our family of origin that we can point to that might be considered a trigger or some line of thinking or behavior that runs through our families that make us take a little bit of a pause, right? And we don't always take into account the effect that those things have on us, especially when we only see our family members a certain amount of time per year, usually around the holidays. But old family dynamics, unhealed wounds, unhealed trauma, people that test our boundaries because we don't have strong boundaries. We have maybe set weak boundaries or no boundaries at all. Um, all of those things can make going home tricky, right? And let's face it, for some, unfortunately, have experienced abuse in their family of origin. And so here's where boundaries are going to be so important to set and maintain. And if any of those are a struggle for you, I encourage you to talk to your therapist or find a therapist that you can talk to about those issues in your family and how to set healthy boundaries in uh, that family dynamic. Going to a therapist is a great way to work through those issues yourself, and it allows you to have much better mental, emotional, and spiritual space and acuity around those issues when they come up, when you are triggered. And so I always say it's best to be proactive than reactive. And so doing that work before you have to take a trip to see family is probably a really good way to go and a wonderful way to take care of yourself. Um, Knowing what your triggers are is really key to having clarity and consistency in your communication with family members, and it could be some old friends, you never know. So knowing your triggers and where to draw the line is key. Recognizing that, for instance, if you're going to see family, you set the time limit on how long you're going to be there, whether it's they're local and you're going to be there 2 or 3 or 4 hours, or it's a trip that you have to take back home, so to speak. How many days you're going to stay is something that you want to communicate. It is important to state your expectations clearly, calmly, before any discord or conflict even arises. If you have family members that seem to always bring up discord when they're together, then you'll want to make sure that you make it clear how long you're going to be around there, what you're willing to put up with and what you're not. And when things go left or go sideways, that you're going to step out and take care of yourself until the situation resolves itself in the moment. Um, Sometimes saying things like, when you feel triggered, that you want to take a pause, right? So that you can go outside and take a breath. Or saying something like, I am not comfortable continuing this line of communication right now. Let's change the subject. Or if they're not willing to change the subject, then you leaving the conversation, right? Um, these are all things that working with a therapist, psychotherapist, beforehand, they can help you do, right? We can work with someone around scenarios that might possibly happen. And right now, we're in such a interesting time in our country. A lot of people have expressed last year as well as this year their hesitance to going home for the holidays because they know so and so in their family is going to bring up the politics, or so and so is going to discuss their religious views, or they're going to talk about some social issue that is starkly different than their own. And so if in advance you're able to say that you're not going to participate in those kinds of conversations, that can give you more agency, give you more of the ability to feel empowered to leave the room if it starts, or if they don't choose to change the subject, right? And so we sometimes feel like when we go back to family of origin that we have no power. But you have to remember you are now an adult and you have agency over your physical body and your own emotional and mental capacity. And you can remove yourself from a situation if you need to, and you should. You have a right to. And so that is part of communication, right? The consistency of saying what your boundary is, and then also communicating what you're not going to put up with in that moment by leaving the space. The other piece about communication is if someone, family member, friend, coworkers, workspace events happen around the holidays, if people are expecting you to be somewhere or at a certain time, how much time, that you're going to spend with them, and you have not been clear yourself about your time capacity, when you're going to get there, how much time you're able to spend doing the thing that they've invited you to doing, then you're seeding confusion and maybe even eroding trust by not being clear or upfront yourself. And so, just a reminder that boundaries are a benefit for all involved. And so, if someone is expecting you at an event or even to do something in particular at one of these holiday events, be clear about your ability, your capacity, how much time that you're able to spend in these spaces, so that disappointment is not being sowed, right? And then trust is being eroded. All right. So being clear is really the key. Now, I come from New York City, and leaving New York and living in a couple of other places, I've learned that people are not as direct as us New Yorkers are. And if you're from the Midwest or from the South or even from parts of the West Coast, being direct and clear in your speech may not be something that is so intuitive. But I truly believe it is a practice worth picking up for your own mental health and for the health of the relationships in your life, that you become clear about your capacity around these kinds of events, especially around the holiday and expectations. So, in advance, making sure you're clear about what you are and not what you are going to do and what you're not capable of doing. And in the moment, being able to reset your boundaries if somebody has tried to cross a boundary, even if it's mid conversation, by being able to say, let's pause this conversation. I'm really not comfortable continuing it right now, and letting that be. And hopefully the person that you're talking to honors that. If not, then you can walk away, right? So that's part of that ability to communicate your boundaries, that with voice as well as with behavior. So we're about to take our last break. And when we come back, we will bring this all together, tie this all together into some actionable ways of thinking about boundaries moving forward that hopefully help you to set better boundaries and maintain them, as well as some maybe words that you can use in reference to setting boundaries. So come on back.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Shervon, Laurice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Expansion Room. I'm Shervon, and today we have been talking about boundary setting for the holiday season. And so let's wrap it up a bit, right? Um, Knowing what your own limits and priorities are, especially going into the holiday season, is going to be so key. This is the time that you start thinking about it before all the invitations and expectations come at you, that you start to set some boundaries for yourself and honor them. Hold those boundaries because it's about your own respect for your own time, finances, emotional well being, all of those things, right? So know that the boundaries that you set improve the health of your relationships, not harm them. Know that the boundaries you set are as much for you as they are for the people in your lives. Boundaries create safety, honesty, and authenticity in your relationships. And please reframe boundaries, right? They are not about rejection, but they are about healthy connection. They are part of your roadmaps to more balanced and healthy relationships. And when you start thinking about these holiday season events and start thinking about your capacity, I invite you to think about maybe doing a little bit of a mini ritual this year where you sit down and write out your holiday peace promise to yourself, where you promise one to say three things, maybe five, no more than five, that you will maintain and honor for yourself through the rest of this year. Whether that's financial, like you set a boundary, or in reference to time. Like for me, I go home to see my family in New York for Thanksgiving nearly every year. But I do not do that Tuesday and Wednesday travel, sit in traffic for 9 hours to go down to North Carolina. Absolutely not. My family knows that I have a boundary around that. I literally don't arrive until Thanksgiving morning. I get up super early. I'm on the road by 5, and I'm at whichever person's house I'm supposed to be at, usually by 10 or 11 that morning. That's my boundary. And I don't do that Sunday drive back home because I just can't. I just cannot sit in traffic for like 9 hours when the trip is supposed to be 5. And so I usually leave on Saturday so that I can get back home at a decent hour and have my buffer day. So that's my boundary around time as well as my energy. And so thinking about that when you put together this holiday peace promise to yourself, what are the boundaries that you need to put in place for yourself? And what are they honoring? Right? And how do you want to then maintain them? I also encourage you to set an intention for emotional self care before every event, every activity, every gathering that you do for this holiday season. There is a term that I love. So if you've ever followed Abraham or Abraham Hicks, there is this term called segment of intending that I love because it's at every shift in whatever that you're about to engage in or whatever you're about to do. You take a pause, you turn inward, and you set an intention for that moment. Like when you get up in the morning, this is going to be a great day. Before you answer the phone, you pause and you allow yourself to be in the present moment so that you can have a great conversation. Or when you're engaging with coworkers, you pause before going into a meeting so that you set your intention for the meeting. All these moments of segment intending. So you can do the same thing for all these gatherings that you're going to say yes to so that you're in the right space, you're in the present moment to enjoy and engage. So I encourage you to set intention around that. Also, using communication and languaging. If there is something that you get invited to that you don't want to do or you don't have the capacity to do, you can say something like, I want to spend time with you, but I don't have the time to do this. How about we meet up and do this? Right? I don't want to do this event, but could we do this thing? Right? I want to enjoy our time together. Can we agree not to talk about politics this year? Or whatever the topic is that seems to sow discord in the space. Communication. Also, communicating your other boundaries that you've set if they need to be communicated in the space. Setting good, healthy boundaries is about mutual respect and emotional maturity. So always remember that. Some key takeaways that I would love you to kind of have echoing in your mind. Boundaries equal self-care, not selfishness. Protecting your energy is an act of love, not guilt. Learn how to say no and honor your yes this holiday season. Clarity creates peace, so communicate your limits with compassion and consistency so that you can enjoy the holidays without burnout, resentment, or guilt. And healthy boundaries strengthen connection with other people. So discover how honoring your needs actually deepens trust with other people, authenticity, and emotional well-being. Boundaries are not barriers. That's the big message. They are bridges to more of a peaceful, empowering version of yourself. So as we enter this holiday season, starting this week, in my mind at least, may you remember that saying no is a sacred act of self-love and honoring your limits. It allows you to show up more authentically with the people in your life and experiences that truly matter to you. So I am Shervon Laurice. This is the Expansion Room, and I hope that something resonated for you in this episode. And if it did, please share it with someone else you love in your life. I also encourage you to like and subscribe on whatever platform that you listen or watch. And check out the show notes. There's a link there for our online community, also called the Expansion Room, that we just opened up last month. We're building it out. And so we'd love you to join. It is where deeper conversations can happen and tools to help you rise from the inside out. So until next time, be well.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. uplift, educate, empower.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marcanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.